Hi, I'm John Noser. This is Board Game Geek TV. I'm here at Gen Con 2013. I'm with Alex Yeager. We're going to be taking a look at Global Mogul from Mayfair Games.
Sure, well this is a game, it's about global business.
Okay.
And more importantly, so imagine yourself as basically an international conglomerate with lots of different things that you do and trying to increase the efficiency in which you do them.
I can imagine that.
There you go. So the core of the game involves you using your resources, your actions, and your agents in order to get things done, whether those be fulfill contracts, invest in markets, invest in government contracts, whatever the case may be, in order to get money. Now the game is about victory points, so it's about fulfilling contracts and being the most in a lot of different categories. But money is your engine, of course, of how you do things in the game. And so a lot of the engine is balancing the money you have coming in and how you're investing it to go out for victory points.
Okay.
So what we have right now is set up a quick look at the base game. And we're going to just take a really quick overview because there's a lot of little chunky bits here to talk about.
That sounds good.
The base game is designed to be sort of the introductory game to give you a sense of how the game works. It takes a couple of elements out, makes them a little easier.
Okay.
But both the base game and the standard game work off of roughly the same engine.
Okay.
You have some number of actions per round. It's a set number in the base game. It's a variable number in the advanced game.
Okay.
And there's a variety of actions which you can do once per turn in order to accomplish some aspect of the game. One of those things can be to invest in markets.
Okay.
So whether you're playing the base game or the standard game, you have markets. Markets are basically countries within regions.
Okay.
And they produce some sort of resources, and it costs some amount of money to invest in that market. In order to invest in a market, you would take the action appropriate to it. So I'm going to invest in my open markets.
Okay.
And I would say, all right, I'm going to spend $30 to get blue collar workers out of China.
Okay.
And I'll also go ahead and take $30 million to get lumber out of the United States.
Okay. So this is the open market action.
That is open markets.
Okay.
So these now would cost me a lot of money that I had. I would now be producing those items, so I would have one production of that and one production on that. And this is just a guide to keep track of what I've got on the board as we get further on.
Yeah, that makes sense.
At some point later in the game, I'd probably take a production action, at which point I'd actually produce said goods.
Okay, so if this was 2, you would be getting 2 wood, so on and so forth.
Right. Okay. In addition, once you have at least 2 on these, you can start vying for actual control of a region, which are worth victory points at the end of the game.
Okay. So is it first, second, third?
First, second, third, right? So the person who has the largest control, person who has at least 2 cubes but not primary control, and the third person would be anybody who has any control.
Okay, so it's first, second, and everybody else.
Well, first, second, and third being not the same requirements. It's a little easier standard to meet than the first 2. And depending on the size of the market, it can be just one person getting points. Larger the market, the more people can come in and get points. Early in the game, you're only going to start with $20. You're not going to be able to do much of anything. So a critical part of the game is managing the venture capital. This is pretty close to free money. Effectively, you would take an action, a venture capital action, in order to take one of your agents, put it here, and get that amount of money.
Okay.
All well and good. It is. Man, free money's
great. Money's great.
And for the most part, every turn you can come over here and do this once. Again, you can only take any of these actions once per turn.
Okay, so in this, why would I be doing? I'm assuming I have to fill up the 20s.
Of course, you always go rightmost of the most rightmost cube.
Now, do those ever come off, or is that just?
They can. There's actually a bonus here for having used these or having the least number of cubes over here.
Okay.
And by doing that later in the game, if these were all filled up, I could, for example, take a $70 venture capital action, turn around, and at $10 more than I received, start buying off these cubes to put them back in my pool. And that's a really critical part of this game, is that these agent cubes you have are limited. You use them to invest in markets. When you go for contracts, which we'll talk about in a second, you need to use agents to help fulfill those. You'll need agents for a variety of things on the board, and at some point you'll start to run out of agents.
You only have so many employees?
You have a couple of ways, especially in the advanced game, to bring more agents into your pool.
Okay.
But certainly late in the game, you start looking for ways to redistribute ones you've got. You'll pull out of markets to move into other ones. You'll start buying back your venture capital, so you can use those there. Completing contracts lets you obviously reclaim those people back. Talking about contracts for a moment, again, those are actions you can use to take contracts from the board.
Yeah.
Contracts show you what you need in order to fulfill it.
Okay, is that a one-time fulfillment?
Right, so as soon as I would ever receive those items, I could say, I am going to fulfill this. I would get the amount of money shown and the number of VPs
You're building,
shown there.
you're building a golf course.
Golf courses. So this would then go under my mat, and it's points to the end of the game.
Okay.
There are also government contracts, a little more complicated, and also have a little special rule as far as you can actually, the more of these you do, the more money you get up front on a contract.
Oh,
A little
okay.
down payment, which gets your money flowing in
Okay.
a little faster off these. And then companies, which are also available throughout your turn, which basically give you some sort of ability, some sort of superpower as you do these. And again, these require an agent when you buy them, but then give you some sort of advantage, usually some sort of advantage in investing in a certain market or whatever.
Okay.
And they sometimes will also let you have an extra advantage when you do so. You may give you a free blue collar worker when you fulfill a contract. And
Looks
things
like this one
that.
gives you an extra agent per turn.
There you go.
There you go.
So the game is designed to last some number of turns.
Okay.
Depending
Now is
on
that
how many players.
Okay, that's per player.
Right. So actually in the base game it's always 6. In the standard game it goes to 6, but it also depends on the number of players as well. And I'm sorry if I get that wrong, Mr. Designer. Anyway, the one thing we haven't talked about yet is, of course, there's also a resource market where you can go to get things for cheap. At the beginning of the game, these are preloaded to a certain extent. So when you buy and sell here, you can buy for the amount shown, sell for half price.
Okay.
But as soon as these run out, then of course the price has gone up.
And these are unlimited at the base level.
At the base level,
Okay.
they're always unlimited, and you sell for that price, half that price as well.
It's neat how you kind of, the graphic design here, how you've got the
To-
levels.
to-
Yeah, that's cool.
So that's a general overview of the game. I said there's a couple levels. There's a solitaire game involved as well.
Okay.
The game is really an engine game, and it's more of an opportunity game in a sense than some of the other games. You know, I mean, I'm a huge fan of Power Grid, but you know, Power Grid is all about the manipulation of the markets and your place in line and kind of doing that.
Exactly.
This one has a little bit more of an opportunity game going on. So
So
depending
more
on
tactical
perhaps,
than strategy.
right, so perhaps what you do is, you know, during that first turn of the game, you see what contracts are out and you go, huh, there's this company and these contracts. This makes sense that perhaps I'm going to start working down the line of maybe just being blue collar natural resources.
Okay.
Maybe I get a particular mix of things and I go, wow, hey, suddenly I'm cranking on these white collar workers. That's going to be the specialized.
Okay.
Maybe I focus on resources, more focus on markets. I focus on government contracts. All of these things give you bonuses at the end of the game, you know, have
Cool.
advantages. So there's a lot of things to kind of process. So although it may not be as complex or as mathy as some of these games,
You've got a lot.
there's still a lot of forks and paths.
Yeah, you got a
that
very
you have to determine,
yeah.
and then double down on as appropriate throughout the course of the
A lot
game.
of different options. A lot. Decision tree is very wide. It looks like.
Sure.
Yeah. Cool.
So that's Global Mogul.
How long does it normally take to play?
Couple of hours is usually a good read. The base game is going to take you a little bit less when you know it. Standard game, depending on your players, will probably take you a couple of hours as a general rule. You'll shorten that down a little bit sometimes.
Cool.
But no, it's a fairly good dive game.
Cool. It looks awesome. So again, this is Alex Yeager. We are looking at Global Mogul, and this is from Mayfair Games. When is it? Is this in?
We have it at the show. It actually arrived at the show. It should be in retailers. Actually shipping this week, so it should be in stores now.
You should be able to get this really, really soon. This looks awesome. Thank you very much.
Very welcome. Thanks.